everyone. Welcome to Numbers and Narratives. I'm here with Owen. How you going?
I'm going very well. One more game for the Euros.
One more game to go.
One more game for Copa America. And
We've nearly made it. It's felt like a bit of a grind at times, but...
It is, because, I mean, for the Premier League, we probably only need to be watching a few games a week at most, whereas it's a few games a day to keep up with the Euros.
It is. In case you're wondering why we're doing another episode this week, it's because Owen's going away and we wanted to make sure we got an episode in before the final. Because it'd be a bit disappointing if we made it all the way and then we didn't do an episode on the final.
Just skip the semis.
Yeah, just skip the semis, skip the final. It would it just didn't feel right. So we're getting this one in early, so we'll be able to talk about it. Yeah, so we're going to obviously talk about the two semi-finals, previewing the final, and we'll talk a little bit about the Copa America final as well. We'll kick us off with Spain versus France.
Spain versus France. Oh, yes. Yes, that was the game. I was going to call you out and say...
What game did you watch?
Yeah,
Am I watching the wrong semi-final?
True, yeah.
What did you think about this game?
Well, first half, very good. Second half, not so good, in the words of Sven Eriksson, is it? Yeah, so I found it odd looking into the numbers that France actually won the game on expected goals.
Did they? Yeah, right. Was it close or not particularly?
It was fairly close. But this was mainly because in the second half, Spain accumulated 0.02 XG.
Okay.
And France got half a goal. But also for shots inside the box, France had 8 to Spain's 2.
Yeah, right. Okay.
But I think it's worth if we go through the game, how it kind of played out.
Yeah, it started off pretty well for France, didn't it? They took the lead through Colomani. Mbappe whipped in a really dangerous cross to the back post in which he headed in.
Yeah.
And you would think because France have been quite solid defensively, it was kind of like the perfect start for them, really.
It was, and it was kind of tough to see. Well, France had got their goal. Normally, it's getting the goals.
Yeah,
the issue.
First goal from open play, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. And it was. Mbappe looked like a different player without the mask on.
Yes.
He was 1-on-1 with Jesus Navas, who I didn't know existed anymore. Used to play for City. He's about 38 now.
I couldn't believe he was starting that game when Pedro Porro wasn't even selected in the tournament, and he had such a good season for Spurs. But yeah.
I mean, he went okay. He put off a really important foul on Rabiot that prevented Mbappe from being 1-on-1 a little bit later. But yeah, it seemed like the perfect start. But then the Wonder Boy came through with a...
You mean
I said that he shouldn't shoot. Let him shoot.
Really?
Yeah, I said that in the last part.
It was a spectacular shot. Kind of cut inside on his left foot and then just probably like 35 yards. He's quite far outside the box and just whipped it, curled it into the top corner.
Just given a 2% chance of a goal.
2%. There you go. And the man on him was Rabiot.
Yes, I forgot about that. You better tell everyone about that story.
Yeah, so before the game, Rabiot, the French midfielder, did an interview and he was asked about Lamar, and he kind of said that, he's had a really good tournament, but he's going to have to lift his game. He's going to have to do more, I think was the quote, against Spain in the semi-final. And then, Lamar responded by scoring an absolute worldie against him.
Yeah, and he also put out something on Instagram just before about only talk when it's checkmate. Yeah. And to do it in front of Rabiot, that's pretty damn cold.
Oh, it was good. And I think maybe a few minutes before that, Yamal crossed the ball.
It was a good cross.
It was a really good cross.
Fabian Ruiz.
And he probably should have scored.
Probably should have, but Yamal pretty much did nothing besides that throughout the game. But doesn't matter because if they didn't get that goal to unsettle France, then they would have been chasing their tails for the rest of the game, I think.
That's a good point. Because they scored pretty soon after again, didn't they, to take the lead?
Yes, and that was completely... Well, not completely. It definitely wasn't completely. But when I was watching, I had my eyes on Mbappe. And because France defend with 4 defenders, 4 midfielders, 2 attackers.
Yeah.
And the 2 at the front, one of them is generally Mbappe because he's not a very good defender. And unfortunately, he was caught as part of the midfield four, and he was not in a very helpful position. And that meant that Jesus Navas found a bit of space on the right for the second goal, and through that it ends up bobbling up to Olmo. Olmo gets the goal.
It was a great goal as well.
It was a great goal, but 60% of attacks for Spain, 59% if we were going to be accurate, came down the left. Right. Then it was about 20 in through the middle, 20 on the right.
Yeah.
Both goals for Spain came on the right.
From the right, yeah, okay.
And that second goal, it was particularly obvious that Mbappe should have been back to help out more defensively, but he wasn't there. And as the captain, it was disappointing because it meant it was a couple goals in a few minutes, as we're saying.
Yeah. Then how did the second half kind of pay out in your perspective?
Yeah, well, France had 6 shots inside the box that half to Spain's 0.
Yeah.
But Spain's possession went up from 55% to 61%. So that was kind of something that we sort of talked about a couple episodes ago about potentially teams looking to control the ball as a form of defense.
Yeah.
And I think that's what Spain were doing. They went quite defensive in the second half. They'd been probably, them and Germany were the 2 best attacking teams in the tournament. And this game, in the second half, they didn't need to attack. They were like, well, let's make France make something happen. Yeah. And France, as I was saying before, with Mbappe not very willing to press, because of that, France normally look to win the ball back in midfield where they got Rabiot, Tchouaméni, who else? Kante.
Yeah.
Who all very capable ball-winning players. But they don't have... Players like Mbappe aren't willing to press from the front. So Spain were able to do a lot of passes around the back. I don't know if you were noticing the same thing in the game.
Kind of the perfect scenario just to keep the hold of the ball and wind the time down. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, because if you're France, you don't want Spain having more of the ball in the second half if you're chasing the game. But another thing that I noticed, well, I didn't notice throughout the match, but I looked into the stats. France had 30 crosses this game, which is a ridiculously high amount. 10 of them were successful, which makes it seem, which is a decent rate.
A third, yeah.
But there's reasons for that. And because most of the crosses were in the first half. And in the first half, it was quite end-to-end.
Yeah.
And when France were going forward, they'd normally start the attack down the right with Ousmane Dembele, who's a very good dribbler, but his criticism is the lack of end product. Yeah. And it was actually Dembele switching the ball to Mbappe that allowed for the first goal. And it was that's what I was thinking that Dembele should be looking to do a bit more, like dribble, take the man on. He only attempted 2 dribbles in the game as one of the best dribblers in the world.
It's unlike him, yeah.
But he attempted 16 crosses and only 3 were successful.
Yeah, okay. Not good.
You got to consider how much space he had in that first half. And with that space, when the Spain defenders were running back, he should be taking on the man, making things happen. Don't settle for a cross because that's not your
It's
forte.
not his strength, yeah.
You're not. If Trent Alexander-Arnold, maybe you get away with that. Ousmane Dembele, take on the man.
Yeah.
Lay in a pass or shoot yourself. Don't just get in a better position. Don't settle so easily for a cross. And that was kind of my main thing with.
Yeah, it's interesting because he's been criticised for that all tournament about looking threatening with the ball, but then having no final product. And then in this game, he was kind of like went completely the other way, where he was putting all these balls in, not taking anyone on, and
But maybe that's why he's not getting the end product, is he's taking the wrong decisions.
Yeah, true.
Whereas when he should dribble, he's crossing, and when he should be crossing, he's dribbling.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, France as a team actually had a lot more success than Spain at dribbling, and Spain were talking about Yamal and Nico Williams
being a threat. Yeah,
but both teams had just as many dribble attempts, but France were twice as successful. So the other players were finding opportunities to dribble, but Dembele, probably the best dribbler on the team, wasn't doing it.
Yeah,
but so eventually France met a miserable end. It's just probably...
They did. And Mbappe had a big chance right at the end to send to extra time.
He did.
Kind of like in typical Mbappe fashion, gets a bit of space down the left-hand side, cuts in, and then, unlike him, he smashed it over the bar.
Yeah, you expect him to go low to the near post, and then it's all celebrations from there, but not this time.
Not this time. I must say I was pretty happy that France met their end. It would have been, oh my God, imagine an England-France final. Would have been a complete ball fest.
It would have been terrible. it was good to see an immovable object meet an unstoppable force at once, but now one time it's okay, but we're going to get it back-to-back with England-Spain and after France-Spain.
Interesting, I think I saw today that France have confirmed that Deschamps is going to stay for the World Cup, despite them exiting the tournament. I don't know, I guess making the semi-finals is still a success for them.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah.
Maybe, especially on the tough side. On the tough side of the draw.
That's true.
And they only beat, it was one goal, and you could say that they won the game on expected goals. I think there's only one game this tournament that they didn't win on expected goals. I don't think any other team had such a good performance outside of shooting throughout the tournament. So that's something that could be considered in favour of Deschamps.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Let's talk about the other game then, unless you got anything else to say about the...
No, France, good riddance.
Good riddance, indeed. So in the other game, England versus the Netherlands, England came from behind to win by 2-1, qualifying to a final on foreign soil for the first time in their history, which is a pretty big achievement. Start off your general thoughts of the game.
Well, before the game, I expected that what would happen is Netherlands would put in a press, England would get nervous, go to do too many long balls, and Netherlands had the highest dual success rate for aerial balls because they're very tall.
So the ball would just come straight back.
The ball would just come straight back and Netherlands would win. But I also thought that the way England were playing should help create more opportunities than how they'd been playing before.
Yeah.
And as it played out, I thought that England would have to play through the press to be able to win rather than just conceding long balls. Start of the game. Declan Rice is dispossessed by Xavi Simons, who goes on to score a cracking goal as he's slipping over.
Yeah, completely off balance, but he somehow has the perfect connection and knuckleballs it into the top corner. It's some goal.
It's unreal. And you've taken the ball off Declan Rice. I know he's not been as great with the ball this tournament, but it's a great effort.
Yeah, no, it was when that ball, as soon as he struck it, I was like, yeah, that's in. And it hits the net, and I'm just like, yeah. It's going to be one of those days.
Yeah, and that's what it seemed like. And I thought that, okay, England are really going to go into their shell here and not try play it out.
Credit to them, they really kicked on from there, didn't they?
They did, and Declan Rice and Kobe Mainoo were two of the main ones. Kobe Mainoo's got a lot of praise, but I'd like to praise Declan Rice. So I thought it was equally as good with the ball at his feet after the first goal, which can be tough to do, to not just... let yourself let the fear take over you and play a little bit safer. And this was reflected in the stats that England weren't playing as many long balls. Normally they're playing 40, 50, 60. This game they only played 35 long balls and they went at 74% accuracy. So they were going to the right positions. They weren't just bombing it long to Dutch centre backs. And just for a reference, Spain are the best long ball side over the tournament, and they're getting about 58% success. So England were very successful when they went to go long. The second half...
It was completely different, wasn't it?
It was.
It was like a game of two halves. In the first half, England were able to play through the lines. They were getting their key operators like Foden and Bellingham on the ball. Foden was exceptional in the first half. Easily, probably the best 45 minutes he's ever played in an England shirt, I thought.
It's up there.
And then, like you say, they get the penalty. That's before we move on to the second half. Let's talk about the penalty. I think Gary Neville described it as a disgrace of a decision. What do you think? It's soft, isn't it?
It is soft. I like to think about it the state of the game, what would have happened if there wasn't a quote unquote foul there, and Harry Kane blazes it over the bar, whether Dumfries touches him or not. I know that's not how like the refs are supposed to look at it, but that's how I like to look at it. And like Dumfries made no actual impact on the game by having his foot up there. So
he didn't even like. It's not like he kicked Kane. He just tried to block the shot, and then Kane's follow through took his leg into Dumfries.
Yeah. So I definitely wouldn't have overturned for this. No. It's interesting. Jude Bellingham actually had said a couple of years ago, I think, that this referee has already got done for match fixing. Why is he getting a big game?
Yeah, right.
So I thought, this could be problems for England, but he's looking out for Jude this time.
Yeah, it was a pretty controversial call, to say the least. But and how many times do you see when there's like a controversial decision like this that the player ends up missing the penalty? But Kane didn't. He's pretty clutch in the penalties. Hits it bottom left-hand corner. Keeper has no chance, really.
Yeah, and to talk about how important this penalty was, Netherlands actually won the game on expected goals if you take out the penalty.
Right, okay. Yeah.
So...
yeah, despite England's good play in the first half, definitely their best half the whole tournament, they still didn't create that many clear-cut chances. I mean, Foden had that one where it was cleared off the line.
Yes, which was, you could say, clear-cut.
Trying to think of another one.
But the thing was that England have so much talent that if Harry Kane gets an open sight look at goal from 25, 26 yards, and Phil Foden got a couple of those as well.
Foden hit the post as well, didn't he, outside the box?
Exactly. Yeah. These are players that you, from the opposition's perspective, maybe they don't accumulate much expected goals. You wouldn't expect from the average player to be able to score from those positions.
But for them, it's a good chance.
For them, it's a good chance that you wouldn't, as opposition, that's not what you want.
You don't want to be passing up those shots. No, yeah.
Yeah. It's not something you'd say, we live with Harry Kane shooting from there when he forces Verbruggen into a good save and Phil Foden's hitting the post. It wasn't the chances that Netherlands would be like, that's just talent winning out, I'd say.
Yeah. Oh, let's move on to the second half then. What changed? What changed to cause this game to it was end to end, it was exciting, and then suddenly it was like a stalemate.
Yeah, well, what I'd say what happened in the second half was that Netherlands were trying to press. They're not a good pressing side, I'd say, but they tried to. They play with four defenders, 3 midfielders, 3 forwards when they're defending. So that's a little less protection than most teams. But then on the upside is you could have someone like Xavi Simons take the ball off Declan Rice and score a wonder goal. But the second half, England, especially through Mainu and Declan Rice, were able to play through the Dutch defence. And Phil Foden was also playing a part by dropping deep and helping out. The second half, they didn't look to press as much, and England found it a lot harder to play through the defence.
They did. I was listening to a podcast with, it was actually a YouTube video by The Athletic, and John McKenzie, the tactics guy, was saying how Netherlands made an adjustment. In the first half, they were man marking in midfield.
Right.
And England were kind of able to move the ball and drag the Dutch midfielders out of position, and then Kane was dropping into that hole, that massive space, and he was getting on the ball and he was making things happen. And then second half they switched to a zonal system in the midfield, and they also tucked their wingers in a bit more, Gakpo and Malin they tucked them in and kind of congested the center of the pitch, sat a bit deeper, and then it really blocked the passages for England. So they were able to play through the lines in the first half, but the second half they really struggled to get out from the back.
Yeah. Well, it makes sense that when you're man marking in midfield with only 3, there's no spares to help out, so you can be dragged out and allow for the spaces, and that's for other players to drop into those spaces that have been opened up. Which is obviously the strength of Harry Kane, is when he can drop deep. But then in the second half, it was probably calling for something else.
Yes.
But it is quite funny. I did see something the other day that I've never seen someone get criticised so much when they've won the Champions League Golden Boot, bound to win the Euros Golden Boot. European Golden Boot, Bundesliga Golden Boot, all in one season.
Yeah.
Everyone's talking about his positioning, about how he's not the right spots. But
it's true. It's a good point.
it is funny, but it's all you can also see that when Ollie Watkins came on, the goal that he scored to win the game was not a run that Harry Kane's been looking to make all tournament.
No.
And De Vrij played him on, so he got a little bit of luck, Ollie Watkins, but it was a superb finish. And
it was a cracking finish. He kind of took the shot really quickly, which I think caught both the defender and the goalkeeper by surprise. It went through. Who was this? The defender on him?
De Vrij.
De Vrij went through De Vrij's legs, and then inside of the post, bottom corner. Keeper couldn't get down fast enough.
And it's funny because he said, allegedly he said to Cole Palmer that they were going to combine for a goal.
That's right.
And that's just so how it happened and how the events played out.
It's a great story, isn't it? Before the game, because Watkins has been on the bench a lot, I think he was a bit frustrated, and same with Palmer, and they kind of were talking like, we're both going to come on and you're going to assist me, and it turned out it worked that way. And you could say it was a bit of a masterstroke by Southgate, bringing on both Palmer and Watkins, and they combined for the winning goal.
Yeah, I was thinking that at the time when it happened. I've seen calls that it's the best substitution in English history. A lot of people were saying that the changes happened too late, but I can also understand this isn't a game of 90 minutes. This is a game that could have an extra 30 as well. So bringing on players a little bit later than you normally would isn't as consequential, I'd say, where people can say they haven't been given enough time to impact, because it could also go to extra time anyway and they get more time there, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I understand your point. I would say, though, it was probably fairly obvious from about 50th, 55th minute that England, the game had changed and they were struggling. Like Holland was growing into the game gradually, and I thought the longer this goes on, they're going to score and England are going to lose the game and go out. And I still think he could have made those substitutions probably 15 minutes earlier instead of being so reactive,
Yeah, that is fair, because as you said, the game had changed, and there wasn't much done about it from Southgate's end until that change of personnel and change of skill sets. So yeah, but in the end,
it worked
Southgate, it worked out for him again.
Talking about the Netherlands a little bit, they brought on Weghorst in the second half. I thought that changed the game a bit. He really gave them like an outlet. His hold-up play was excellent, I thought. Yeah,
well, he's actually loved a lot more in the Netherlands than what Depay is, because he came up with some important goals to get Netherlands into the Euros as well. And he was a break glass option for them, but I do like that he also provides stuff in terms of pressing, and he's not as nice on the ball as Memphis Depay, but he can get goals, and
he's a danger man in the box. The more, like, every time they put a ball in the box, I was like, oh no, I'm scared. He's dangerous in the air,
and he can hold up the play, as you said. It was funny that he was at Manchester United. He was being played as a 10 just because of his capabilities without the ball. So he does have that strength, and it ended up helping Netherlands play a better second half, even if the result. It
wasn't like they created a bunch of chances, but they definitely nullified England's attack. England were definitely the better team in the first half, and the second half I thought was pretty even.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with that analysis. The second half in this game was also not as enjoyable as the first, I'd say.
Not at all.
With both games, it's a bit of a theme. I'm a bit concerned that England and Spain, the second half, is going to be a bit dreadful. But
look, if England score first, I think it's going to be a shit game.
Yeah.
Because they're just going to sit back. But we'll see. I thought Gakpo had a bit of a quiet game. He's had a really good tournament.
He did. And I'd like to point fingers and say it was the work of Kyle Walker that helped out. But he just didn't really get in the positions enough. A lot of his goals have actually come from Denzel Dumfries putting in good balls from the other side. Most you may think that because Gakpo's had such a great influence for the Netherlands that the attacks have mainly come down from the left, but they actually normally come down from the right or through the middle.
Yeah.
And Dumfries didn't really get going. and pretty much everyone in the Dutch squad didn't get going except for Xavi Simons, I'd say. So, but yeah, because he normally relies on people getting the ball from the right to him one-on-one, then he gets things going. Because that didn't happen too much. We didn't see the Gakpo that we'd been seeing in the previous games.
No. What is it about England that when they go behind, they seem to play better? I mean, they went behind to Slovakia, Switzerland, and again against the Netherlands, and they've come back in all three of those games, where in the group stages, they went ahead against Serbia and they went ahead against Denmark, and they struggled in both those games.
Well, I think part of that is the game state, that when they go ahead, they look to play defensively and concede possession and, as a result, chances, but poor chances from Southgate's perspective is what they're conceding. So I guess that's why when they go down there, when they go up, they can seem like they're playing worse. In terms of the other way, when they go down, I'd say that a lot of that has to do with Gareth Southgate, and he's big on the camaraderie and the mental state of the team, trying to help them with penalties and whatever else.
Scored a lot of late goals, yeah.
Scored a lot of late goals, and I think he's made everyone feel important in the squad, because as much as Watkins and Palmer may have been upset, they still had an impact.
Yeah.
Ivan Toney in the Slovakia game was a bit annoyed that he was being brought on in the 89th minute with 30 seconds left or whatever. He still got the assist.
Yeah. What he doesn't have in his like tactical side of the game, he makes up with his man management.
Exactly. And after Watkins had scored the goal, Harry Kane, and after the game, Harry Kane ran up to him and gave him a big hug or whatever.
It was really nice to see.
And that just, normally on other sides, or even England sides of the past, that rivalry could be at the forefront, and the club tensions, as well as the competition for spots. Harry Kane might not have been as friendly to Ollie Watkins. He might have been like, oh, he's trying to take my spot, and he doesn't even play for Spurs, or he didn't even play for Spurs, doesn't play for Bayern. Why would I care if he scored? But he wasn't. He was extremely happy that England are through to the final. Yeah,
there's something to be said definitely about how the whole camp is really on side, really like got a positive mindset, and yeah, like you say, the players who aren't starting are still having a big role in the tournament. And, Watkins has barely made it on the pitch. Like Tony's been brought on the last few games, but he comes on, scores probably the most important goal of his career.
Yeah. And the England side are prepared to face adversity. They invite it. It's an us against them mentality.
Siege mentality.
Exactly. Like we were talking about the English media, the press, being on their backs, and they're willing to take it all on and give it back, even though if it's not the prettiest, the way they give it back.
Yeah. Well, we're going to preview the final shortly, but before we do that, I think you've got a dumb or not for us.
I do. So I want to ask you, Ezra.
Yes.
Compared to the men's game, what do you think are the most important attributes of an under-21s coach? A youth coach, I should say.
God, I wouldn't really. So, in terms of like an elite under-21s coach?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, so like for a Premier League team or
for
something.
A Premier League team or for England, and a youth's coach for England.
I suppose it's it's not so much about the results it's like it's not about the results, because no one really cares if you win the under-21 league or anything like that. It's about the kind of building a player's tactical knowledge and physical traits, and kind of getting them ready for the Premier League, I suppose.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I also thought that like perhaps the tactical side isn't as much, and there's a bit more freedom given to the players,
right?
And maybe just creating like a good environment's more important, because they're young players. They've got other things on. They're not professional yet. And I found it interesting. I don't know if you disagree, but probably the three best dark horses were probably Turkey, Austria and Georgia. Do you have any qualms of that?
No, that makes sense. Yeah.
So Vincenzo Montella of Turkey was under 15s coach for 3 years. Ralph Ragnick was under 21s manager for 5 years. And George's manager, I forgot his name, sorry, was the French youth coach for 3 years.
Yeah, okay.
In the final, we've got Gareth Southgate, who was the under 21s coach of England for 4 years.
Really?
And Marc de la Fuente, who was the youth coach of Spain for 9 years.
9 years. Wow. Okay, there's definitely a trend there.
So, my question is, if you're an international coach, so if you're looking for an international coach, should you favour the under 21s manager who may have a youth coach who may have better connections with the players as they've been growing up, or maybe isn't as tactically sound, but can get a good team environment going? What are your thoughts on that? Is that dumb or not?
I think it's not dumb. I think it makes a lot of sense. I think, I think the international football is a different beast from club football, and everyone is kind of dreaming of Pep Guardiola managing England and seeing what he would do with all these talented players and playing this great football. But I think what we've just mentioned about Southgate and the atmosphere he's created, and the positive energy and vibes around the camp is so important. And to have a manager who's already been through the international system, like already managed in the under 21s, I think he probably knows a lot of those players who have come through as well. He's worked with them before. I imagine that makes a massive difference. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, because England have been lucky this tournament. You could say they were lucky in the 2018 World Cup, and they're probably lucky in the 2020 Euros. Maybe it's not all luck that that's happened, and it's just the morale's up with Gareth Southgate at the helm. And
I think it's a massively underrated part of his management, which he doesn't get a lot of respect for, because it's not something you can see. Like, it's not something the common audience is going to see. You can't see how he manages players, how he sits down with Watkins the day before a game to explain how he's not going to be starting, but he's still going to have a crucial role to play in the game. And whatever he says in that conversation is obviously, had a big impact, because Watkins comes off the bench and scores, but we don't see that. We just see the way England perform.
Exactly. Yeah. So maybe for the future,
I think it's
21s managers, put them straight in.
Keep an eye out for those. Yeah. Okay, let's move on to the final then. England versus Spain. It's pretty blockbuster match on paper. It's Sunday night / Monday morning, 3 a.m. Perth time, which is
love that.
Lovely
Absolutely
time.
Love 3 a.m. games.
I'm gonna be down south as well, and I'm gonna have a very dodgy. Well, actually, there's no Wi-Fi. I'm gonna have to hotspot the TV to my phone and then watch it on crunchy quality. Oh my god, the last Euros final. I remember. You were there, weren't you?
I was not there.
Oh my god.
I had just as bad reception, but you can tell the story about that.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm gonna call you out, Theo. I'm sorry, but you invited us all to a bar in Northbridge to watch this game, and it was great. We got there 5 hours before the game, drunk a lot and had food and had good chats and stuff. But then the time for the game comes, and we realized that the bar didn't have a proper Optus license to stream the game on. They were using some kind of cheap satellite to pick it up from some other country, and it was a real crunchy quality. It kept pausing and lagging, and it was pretty much unwatchable. And the worst part was the penalty shootout. Literally the whole screen would freeze, and then you'd wait 2 minutes, and then it would come back on, and Rashford is missed, and everyone's like, what happened? We didn't even see the penalties. And my dad and I actually left the bar. We were outraged. We went and watched it on our phone in the car. But yeah, it was...
And you were still outraged because England lost.
Yeah, it just made the whole night an absolute misery, really. So this time, unfortunately, I'm going to have to be watching it on crunchy quality again, but hopefully they can get through this time. How do you expect this game to play out on?
Well, probably pretty similar to the games we've seen previously. Well, I guess it's going to be interesting because there's a juxtaposing styles that one's more defensive and one's more attacking. But I think it will probably play fairly similar to the France game from Spain's perspective. They'll probably try play pretty similar, even if they did lose the game on expected goals, daring the other team to beat them if they go a goal up. England, I think will also try. I saw Spain were the third best for aerial duel percentage. Netherlands were the best. So I expect that's further reason for why they'll try play similar to how they did against the Netherlands.
Yeah.
Spain are normally a good dribbling side, but they weren't against France. France and England are two of the top few teams at stopping other teams from dribbling against them. So that's worth noting. Half of England's goals have come from outside the box.
Half, yeah, that's
so
insane.
But England haven't been.
And they've also hit the post and the crossbar a few times.
Yeah, that's true. But in terms of the amount of goals they'd concede, they haven't been that unlucky, even though half the goals have come from outside the box. So this isn't necessarily a positive for England because Spain have players like Dani Olmo, Rodri, Fabian Ruiz, and Yamal, who've all four of them, I'm pretty sure, have scored a goal outside the box this tournament.
Yeah.
So that's going to be an area of concern for England if they encourage too many shots from there. There's players that can put it away. But I thought England had a lot more depth than Spain.
Yeah.
Looked into the numbers. Their transfer market has them worth 50% more than Spain. And Opta has Spain as a 45% chance of winning in regular time. And England 27% chance of winning in regular time.
Yeah, okay. That seems about right, I think.
But overall, Spain are only a 55% chance to England's 45, which means I'd looked into it. If it goes to extra time or penalties, they think England are a 72% chance of winning. And I already thought the longer the game goes on, the more of a chance that England have of winning.
Yeah.
Because as we've seen, Spain's players, Lamine Yamal 16, Nico Williams has to do a lot of sprints as well. The ball's played down the left a lot, so he can get really tired. But when those players come off, Spain play a different way, and they don't have the option to play direct. They have to rely on playing through teams, and that hasn't brought them success since 2012.
Yeah.
So I think the key for England, play how you did last time. Hope the longer the game's 0-0, the better, unfortunately. It's not to say, so I would like to hear that. But in saying that, I think Spain are more likely to get it done in regular time. They have had the harder draw. They have had a bit of luck themselves. They've won 5 of their 6 games in regulation time, while England have only won 2 of 6. But on expected goals, they've won 3 of 6 in regular time. Spain have.
Yeah. And
England have won 4 out of 6. But Spain have had a harder draw. But their result, they're not unbeatable is what I'm trying to say.
No, I definitely don't think it's as I think it'll be a pretty tight game despite Spain being such big favourites according to the odds and stuff. But if England score first, do you actually think that's going to benefit them or not?
Well,
I mean, remember what happened against Italy? They scored after 2 minutes, Luke Shaw.
And then they just invited pressure.
Yeah.
Well, if they do sit deep after scoring first, then it's going to make it a lot harder for Lamine Yamal and Nico Williams, who are probably their 2 best players. Even Alvaro Morata's strength is dropping deep, and that's more effective when you have more space to use. So that's what they will take away from Spain. But Spain can still play. It's not their preference this tournament.
Yeah, they can still play possession-based.
They can still play possession-based. England and France actually average about the same amount of possession per game. They're both willing to concede it at times. Well, we saw in the last game, Spain are happy to play. Well, not last game, sorry. In the Germany and Croatia game, they're happy to play so direct that they probably don't have as much of the ball, but they're also they're capable on the ball. They're still a Spanish side.
Yeah, I think that's a real strength about Spain is they can hurt you in a lot of different ways. They can play direct, and they can also play the possession, slow build up as well.
Much like Real Madrid.
Yeah. Predictions?
If it's in regular time, I reckon it would be a 3-1 win to Spain. But if it goes to extra time, I reckon England would win.
Okay, so we've got 2 winners. England are going to win.
Okay,
and
I'm
Spain
saying
no.
I expect Spain to win, but if it goes to extra time, then I'm backing England. Spain 3-1.
Sure, that makes sense.
Lamine Yamal, young player of the tournament, goal of the tournament, player of the tournament.
He's the man. All right, I think I'm not gonna bet against England. They've got all the way. They just got to get it done. I don't care how they play. I won't criticize their performance. All they have to do is win the match. I think they're gonna do it. I'm gonna say it's coming home. 2-1.
2-1.
Yeah, in 90 minutes.
Harry Kane score. Take the golden boot outright.
Yeah, why not? Yeah. Let's give it to him.
Do you want me to make you a little bit less confident?
Go on.
Spanish clubs and the Spanish side for men's have won their last 22 finals against non-Spanish opposition.
Yeah, I saw this stat today, and I did think, like, yeah, it's a little bit intimidating. Definitely, it's a little scary.
But last time England played Spain in a Euros final, they won. The women's side.
Yes, they did too. Yes. But there's also the other factor of the Harry Kane curse. He's never won a trophy, and Spain will probably be delighted that Kane's made it to the final because they can't lose now.
Lamine Yamal's never won a trophy either.
Oh, that's true. All right. Before we wrap up, I want to talk about Argentina and Colombia, the Copa America final. I know neither of us have watched a whole lot of this tournament because we've been preoccupied with the Euros, but according to the numbers, what do you have to say about this game?
Okay, well, according to the numbers, Argentina have been the 3rd worst shooting side all tournament, while Colombia have been the best finishing side all tournament. So if Colombia are a chance, they're going to have to shoot well and hope Argentina don't. Yeah. And that kind of makes sense because Lautaro Martinez has never been a great finisher for Argentina. But Messi hasn't been shooting well this tournament either. Colombia have been better defensively despite having a harder draw is something else that's in their favour. And James Rodriguez has been very, very, very good for Colombia.
Yeah, I was just looking. He's got 6 assists and a goal as well.
Yeah, and I think he's got 4 Man of the Match awards in 5 games.
Yeah, shit. You know when I said last week that he's finished? Maybe he's not after all.
But so pretty much I'm saying James Rodriguez is better than Messi.
Yeah.
Then Colombia winning. No, probably not.
Does this game mean anything for Messi's legacy at all? Like, I mean, he's already won everything.
Yeah, it doesn't really
matter.
do much. Yeah,
no.
It's kind of like the Steph Curry thing that's like he's proved everything.
Yeah.
So if he misses a penalty in a penalty shootout, then it will count against him. Or if he misses
he's
lots
left-footed
of chances,
though, so he's more likely to score.
Yeah, not if he goes down the middle, which I told him not to do.
No, he told him not to. Yeah, honestly, like I'm a big fan of Argentina, but it'd be quite nice to see Colombia win this game.
Yeah, I don't know if Colombia won No, they must have won a Copa America, but they don't have a great record. You'd expect them to have a better record for their football status, I suppose. Yeah.
Should we do predictions or not, or is it a waste of time since we don't really?
2-0.
Doesn't even know.
Argentina.
2-0 Argentina. I'm gonna go 3-1 Argentina.
But if it goes to extra time, still 2-0 Argentina.
Because Messi will miss his penalties.
Yeah, but Martinez, the goalkeeper, will save every Colombia penalty.
Yeah, that's very true. It's also Di Maria's last game in international football.
Oh, there you go.
So hopefully he has a nice send-off.
Unless he does a Messi and decides he's not actually retired and comes back and wins a World Cup.
That's true, and it's very possible, really. All right, let's end it on quick-fire questions. You want to go first?
Sure thing. Okay. Has Olmo's emergence meant Pedri's injury benefited Spain?
Yes.
Should Frimpong and Grimaldo have played more this tournament?
No.
Is Ollie Watkins and Palmer double substitution the best sub of all time?
Absolutely. Yes.
Was Xavi Simons the most deserving for man of the match?
No.
Does Deschamps regret not playing Laporte for France?
No. All right.
Good. At least I challenged you a little bit more this week.
I think so. Yeah, they were good. So my questions aren't really yes or no, but they're kind of one word. But yeah, goal of the tournament at the Euros. You can say more than one word because it's going to be hard for you to fit that in one word, isn't it?
Yeah. Romania's team goal, the third team goal against Ukraine. I think it was Stanisu who scored.
Yeah, it was a good goal. Player of the tournament. You already said this.
Oh, that wasn't my pick.
Who is it then?
Fabian Ruiz.
Yeah, that's a good shout. Should Gareth Southgate get a knighthood if England win the final?
Of course.
Sir Gareth Southgate. It's got a nice ring to it, I think. Is this Sir Gaz. Is the current England team better than the team of the Golden Generation?
Yes.
Ooh, that's interesting. But yeah, you don't have to explain yourself. What's harder to win, the Copa America or the Euros?
Euros.
Cool. Done. Easy. Wrapped. That's done for the Euros, eh? Done.
Unless we do a review.
Oh, yeah. Well, you're not going to be here next week, so... But we still... I mean, maybe the following week we can still discuss how the final went briefly.
Yeah.
I reckon. All right.
Unless England lose, you'll probably be too sad.
If England
you'll probably
lose,
need another week.
If England lose, we'll never mention the Euros again, I think.
Until the next Euros when it's coming
home again. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Thanks, everyone, for listening. That's going to bring us to the end of the episode. Let's all hope for an exciting game in both finals. Yeah. Remember to rate the Spotify, please, guys. Rate the podcast.
Give Spotify 5 stars.
Give Spotify 5 stars on Numbers and Narratives app. And yeah, share it with your friends, all that stuff. And we'll catch you not next week because Owen's going. Where are you going?
Prevley, down south.
Ah, yes. Oh, I'm going down south as well.
Maybe watch the game.
See you guys.
Bye.